Howdy, y'all. You're in for a rootin' tootin' good time talking about the new BJ Novak written, directed, starring movie Vengeance. A movie about a man from New York City who goes down to big old Texas and gets his rodeo on with some grade A characters down in Texas after someone got killed.
I mentioned to you before how much I absolutely love this. It's one of my all-time favorites of this year. Seriously, it's just brilliant. So seriously, thank you for taking the time.
I hated this movie. I'll be completely honest and upfront with you. Nothing about this works for me aside from one thing. One thing, or maybe two. Boyd Holbrook. Boyd Holbrook is taking bites out of the scene. He's picking up props and chewing on them because he knows he's in a movie where his character is nothing. So he's like, I'm going to play this up. I'm going to take the scenery, and I'm going to take chunks out of it. I'm just going to be biting up on this sofa here. I'm going to be looking over at BJ Novak with a candle in my mouth because I'm chewing this scenery. And I loved him. I love Boyd Holbrook. Put him in everything, if I'm being honest. I love him in everything. I think he is horrifically underrated and underutilized. Put him in everything, man. He's great.
Writing, you're directing, you're producing, and you're starring. It's like all hands on deck are your hands.
But that said, at one point in this movie, they go to a Whataburger because BJ Novak's never been. I've never been. I'd like to. But they go to this Whataburger, and at one point, they're like, this girl was actually a pill popper, and Ty told us not to tell anybody. And I went, who's Ty? Do I know Ty? And Ty was Boyd Holbrook. And I legit didn't know who that was. Because, you know why? Because the characters aren't characters. They're just actors. They're just actors playing roles to have BJ Novak talk through. That's who they are. Dove Cameron's in this. The Disney Channel star, Dove Cameron, who eats brownies with ranch, apparently.
For your eyes only. Brownies and ranch.
I'm not going to try that. Who does this? Who are you? Anyway, she's in this. She sucks. She has a horrific Texas accent that is so bad they just stopped giving her lines at a certain point. And even at that Whataburger scene, she's just not even there. And it was so obvious I couldn't not pay attention to anything else. That's not even a sentence. I only could pay attention to the fact that Dove Cameron was not in the scene. It's clearly her stunt double or just a stand-in with sort of her hair, and her back is to the camera, and constantly she's doing this. And the movie is filled with a lot of these little technical issues that maybe only I will notice. But half of the movie's overexposed. For one thing, there's a shot near the end that it looks like it's an autofocus because it does that thing where it focuses close to the lens and then back to the subject far away and then onto the subject. It's like, wow, like what an iPhone does when it's trying to focus on two things. Wow, it does that. How does that happen? How does that happen in a movie with a cinematographer and a director? Oh, because the director's in front of the camera doing nothing. Because he wrote a movie that he can just masturbate to because he thinks he's so smart. I'm being very mean. I'm sorry, BJ.
Her family thought that we were more serious than I did.
You know what? This is a story.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's you. Your whole way of life. It's dating, it's hookup culture, how it enables disconnectedness.
I think the story sucks. The first act, the opening of this movie is one of the most embarrassing things I've seen. BJ Novak is standing with one of his buds, and they're at a party. Even though they don't move, they're just standing on a ledge, and they're saying 100%. Oh, this girl, dude, she's so hot. 100%. Oh, well, she's hot, but I'm not going to be with her for a while. Oh, yeah, 100%. Oh, dude, this girl I was with, she's like my second favorite at boning. I'm not going to be with her for too much longer because I'm starting to... Shut up, dude. Shut up. Yeah, maybe people are like this in real life. Maybe. But you know what? This is a movie. So how about you have them walk around the party, guy? How about you shoot it in more than just shot, reverse shot, and then occasionally a wide, or a master, I mean. How about you put in any effort? It is just shots at eye level of guys maybe improving, maybe not. If it's not improv, it's the worst dialogue ever. And if it is improv, then it's some of the worst improv ever. Figure it out, BJ. This opening is terrible. It painfully and excruciatingly paints our character for who he is for the whole movie, as a shallow guy who is just interested in the quick experience. And that's ultimately what the movie's about, and nothing more. And it drives that down your throat.
You know, I get a Spotify list and I think, oh, I love all these songs, but I don't look up the artist.
It's like a piece of TNT that got lit on fire, and then a sledgehammer gets thrown at you as soon as the TNT explodes, and they both hit you in the face. That's the message of the movie. Oh, you're not, you don't like people anymore. People don't talk to people. They just like what they see online. And what they see online is just a digital record of that person. It's not the real person. So your expectations of that person are different than what they are in real life. Great job, BJ Novak. You took something that's true and you ruined it. Yay, dude. Now I just want to be online for my whole life because of you. Thanks, dude. And that's where I say that he's just really stroking it with this thing, because it's clear he really thinks he is, like, inspirational because of how many monologues there are about this one subject. It is unending. You can have this story about a girl who died and a guy who's podcasting about it, who is a shell of himself. It's basically a coming-of-age story, and then you kind of learn that, oh, he's just so attached to the online world that he can't really communicate with people for real. There's a couple scenes where that actually works, where BJ Novak constructs something while telling the story and communicating that. I know that's hard to do for an entire runtime, but you did it enough to the point where I'm annoyed that you don't do it for the entire runtime. Okay, guy? Every scene with Ashton Kutcher sucks, because Ashton Kutcher sucks, and his writing from BJ Novak sucks worse. It's just like these endless monologues. Everything just sounds so insipid. Everything just sounds so try-hard, pseudo-intellectual, and it got absolutely grating.
You're a playlist guy.
What does that mean?
Some computer recommends you a bunch of songs based on your favorites.
And a bunch more based on your favorites of those.
Right.
So you're listening to a bunch of music that you genuinely like.
Yeah.
But you have no idea who sings it. These playlists, it's like the dating app for music.
What the hell?
The first half is basically just that. Just people having pseudo-intellectual talks, intercut with the most moronic, backwards, weird, pointless scenes that go nowhere. Like when Dove Cameron comes out and he's making coffee and he goes,
How do you take your coffee?
In the mouth.
and her accent changes, and then the scene ends. What was the point of that scene, huh? And then the next scene, he's in a room talking about Whataburger, and everyone goes, we like Whataburger because it's just always there. And that's the scene. And then it cuts to the editor going, this family, I'm just falling in love with them. They're just such characters. And I'm like, who? Who is a character? There's one girl who's like an emo chick, and I think her name was Paris for some reason. What is her character? She sits and goes, yeah, that I agree. And that's her character. Dove Cameron couldn't even be bothered to be in important scenes. And she says, I take coffee in the mouth?
In the mouth?
And then Boyd Holbrook is just like, I'm gonna shoot some folks. They're not characters. What are you falling in love with, editor woman? Their southern drawl that changes from scene to scene? Dude. There's a scene at the rodeo when he says, woo, let's go Texas. And then everyone goes, woo, let's go Texas Tech. And they make fun of him for liking Texas University and not Texas Tech. And then the scene cuts, and that's the scene. Now, I understand that the scene was to establish that he pretended to like Texas, and then later, some guys blow up his car because he likes Texas, which is establishing the expectation versus reality. You think that someone blew up his car because he's getting close to the case being solved. But no, it's just two scumbags who like a university more than another one. Stupid, yes. But that's what the scene is for. A pointless scene where BJ Novak goes to a rodeo and says, I like Texas, and then his car gets blown up. What a great scene. How about this, BJ? You set a scene there where you find out something about the plot. Or how about this? You have him actually competing in the rodeo. Oh, this Texas lover, I bet he can't ride no sheep for longer than 10 seconds. You bet your ass he can't. Texas Tech, you're going to wipe the floor with him. And then you have a scene where BJ Novak is trying to ride a little sheep and, oh, he fell off and he sucks at it, but he's endearing himself to the family. Something. And then the second half of the movie is just monologue after monologue after monologue explaining what certain scenes just happened are about. There's a great scene, one of the best scenes in the movie, honestly, when he goes to the police about this girl's death. And the police is like, actually, that's county territory. Go to the county sheriff. And the sheriff is like, actually, that's Border Patrol territory. Go to them. And they're like, oh, that's Highway Patrol. And they just keep kicking it in a circle. And I went, oh, okay. So they're commenting on the legal system a little bit and how some people just end up as statistics, yada, yada, yada. You know, something's not getting done, blah, blah, blah. I get it. And then the next 3 scenes are BJ Novak or somebody else explaining why that just happened. The second half has some of the best scenes in it. That cop scene is good, even though it over-explains it. Because that's the movie, over-explaining the movie. But then there's the ending. And wow, is it embarrassing. Wow, did it ruin any shred of romaine lettuce good faith I had left in this.
My Prius exploded.
Oh my God. What if you were driving a real car with gas and stuff?
BJ Novak shows up at a party, and Ashton Kutcher comes up to him and literally says, turn on your recorder, I got a story for you, with also a Texas accent that comes in and out at will. And then he walks up to this tent where apparently there's red lights outside, but white lights inside, because BJ Novak is not a good director. And he puts random stylings in his movie for no reason. And the technical stuff is ass. But anyway, BJ Novak goes, oh, you're going to do the same thing you did to that girl that I pretended to be girlfriends with. And Ashton Kutcher's like, why do you care? You just knew a record of her. You just knew what she wanted you to see. And then 10 minutes of that. 10 minutes of him just saying the same thing over and over again. And then BJ Novak gets him to literally confess. He says, yeah, that's exactly what I did. I drug her out in that one spot where nobody's gonna be in jurisdiction of, and I left her to die. And then BJ Novak holds up his phone and he's like, gotcha. I was recording that the whole time. And Ashton Kutcher's like, okay, you want me to say it again? I'm gonna be on a panel with you in a couple months about it. And I was like, no, that is not how this works. I get what you're trying to do, BJ Novak. I get it because I can understand things without you explaining them to me. And I get it because you explained it for 20 minutes. I get that you're trying to say that everybody in the world has a hot take now. And we're all so divided because everybody has a hot take and we don't really know people as people anymore. They're just numbers. They're just ones and zeros. They're just people on a screen and that's their perfect version of themselves. I get it. All right? But this is not the way to do it. I know you think you're Jesus writing the Bible and this is like a psalm or something. I don't know what you're trying to do, but this is not the way to do it. You need to be subtle. You need to be less obvious. I'm explaining what I'm trying to say overly because that's the only way it seems you understand things. I'm being so mean, dude. It's so condescending. I just hate this movie. Okay?
Solve something like this with a 45. It's the breakdown of society is what it is.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's very wise.
You're going to need a 12 gauge, a couple of ARs, Western automatic, and a sidearm for safety.
I'm sorry, but I'm chilling. I hate this movie. I give it a 2. A 2 out of 10 for Boyd Holbrook and like 3 scenes that I liked. And that's it, because this movie sucks.